nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together and share albums with each other. Taking turns, going round the horn, an album at a time, like a book club for music. It's really fun. I'm Peter Rave, your man with no plan and no draft picks. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. I kind of dated the recording, but still, whatever. My team, my squad, my crew, my class. We've got Brett.
The pain don't hurt.
Yes. We've got Drew.
If you want me to date this podcast more, I'm not sure if I like Colin Sexton yet. So we'll see if I'm a fan of his or not come a week's time. Let's see how that works out for me.
Yes, and we've got David.
Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, greetings and salutations.
Yeah. We're here to talk about music, talk about an album. I'm excited to discuss this one. The provider of the album this week, as it is his turn, is David Deej. David, what do you got for us this week?
This time around, PD Rave, I decided to pick an album that is pretty recent. It just came out in the month of May 2018 from metal band from Finland, Amorphis, and their brand new album, Queen of Time.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with Drew. What expectations did you have coming into this album?
All I knew was that it was metal and it was Deej, so there was probably going to be some like crazy guitar work because knowing Deej and metal, it dips its toes very much into the prog-centric direction. So very intricate pieces and parts is sort of what I was expecting. But besides that, I had never heard of this band ever before in my life. So I was sort of excited to see what they had to offer.
Yes. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I mean, I knew a little more. I have an old friend and a former roommate that were a fan once upon a time. It's not something that I purposely went out of my way to listen to, but it's something that I kind of knew what I was getting into. The variety of heavy metal, if you have listened, that I bring, I assumed not a whole lot of that. So I sort of came in ready to learn with not any real knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I was anticipating we were going to get a little proggy, as Deej is prog leaning. Well, no, not prog leaning. He's Mr.
I'm full on prog sexual.
Yes, exactly.
Prog is a little Deej.
Yes, exactly. David Deej. How would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements that stick out?
Well, what I know of Amorphis from days gone by is that they are a metal band that does not commit themselves to one particular style or subgenre. The things that tie Amorphis together and give them their sproing, if you will, is their folkier elements with their influences of folk music and their lyrical affinity for old Finnish literature. So I was expecting some epic metal sounds with a little bit of a mix of death metal here and there, but generally just a metal band that goes all over the place but manages to keep it all together.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, a little bit of a spoiler. This album had pretty much everything I really like about metal music. There is times where it dips into that sort of like the almost scary sound that like the death metal thing can provide. It gets dark. Very dark at times, which I find really cool, but it doesn't stay there. A lot of the reason I got out of that type of metal and I don't listen to it much is because it just stays in this like down place for too long. But it never did that to me. There is a bit of everything on this album that's great. There's a guy that I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about, or at least I am. Jorgen, I believe his name is. He plays a woodwind instrument that I'm going to touch on later, which was like, oh, hey, that's in here, and that was awesome. Which totally not expecting a saxophone in metal music, and I totally loved every second of that.
Sure, this is the second time I've brought in a metal album with a saxophone. You should pick up on this by now.
This saxophone is a very specific kind of saxophone, though. I will also be talking about said saxophone.
They got saxy.
Yeah. I didn't hate it like some people hate some daughters. I guess we'll talk about that. The guttural screams in death metal and stuff like that is not usually, like I said, where I go. But they added in here for that punch and never stayed too long. It drifted in and out, which I find really, really cool. Oh, hey, there's super technical guitar work. Who would have thunk it? The Teach metal album. It's really, really well done. It never does the crazy riffs for crazy riffs' sake. It's always still super catchy, but it does really cool, intricate stuff. And to me, I was thinking this as I was listening to it, is that there are some metal albums, some metal songs that I think to myself, like, okay, this would be really cool live because there's a very cool energy to it. And there are some that I'm like, oh, this was like them sitting in a room and really like ruminating over what this is going to be and really being intricate about it. And that makes it cool, but it probably wouldn't make a great live set. I feel like this entire album was like just the perfect middle ground of those two ideals where like, nah, this would be great on a stage just as much as it was like them putting every thought and like a little tweak in a studio of it. So.
Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
I mean, this is a studio album. This album has received, so I have read from the articles linked to their Wikipedia page, has gotten praise for the production and the use of real stringed instruments and other instruments that show up on this album. Like just looking through the credits, and you're like, okay, what are we going to get here? We have somebody playing what is known as a church organ in the credits. Like everything has a very real sound, especially that saxophone. But that saxophone also sounds like if it had a ton of like 80s digital reverb. There's so many things in so many songs because this does sort of go in different places. Man, there are some albums where, you have, your what is it? Laryngeal singing.
Laryngeal, I think.
Yes. Which
I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that again.
I mean, that's something that if you are familiar with my opinions on it, I am not a big fan. It's not there's not musicality in it. It's kind of percussive and it kind of makes me laugh. I'll get into that also.
There you go.
And
thank you, Google lady.
Yes. And this album doesn't have the constant like Yngwie melt your face guitar going on either, which makes it so that things have a very different sound to them. There's not a sameness throughout where it's just constantly which I enjoyed. Some people would argue that is a good thing. But like there's nothing offensive about this album to me and my tastes. Like even I don't think that it's a scary, it has small amounts of everything. So if you're not into a certain heavy metal trope, you're not going to stick with it for too long.
Yeah, I think
I'm a little surprised that it got rave reviews for the production because I think as a complete package it was good, but I think that this album, at least for me, where I listened to it and various places. It fell into the metal trope of sacrificing the low end. I will say
Will you?
that the pretty well known to do.
We're having testicle difficulties.
Metal, so no one really
Oh, yeah.
minds.
I think we caught like 3 words of that last paragraph. Go ahead. And go.
I'm a little surprised that it's getting rave reviews for its production, because even though the strings and the woodwinds are there and they all sound really good and the vocals sound great, it sort of fell into the trope that most metal bands fall into, at least since And Justice for All, and that the low end was almost non-existent. I feel like I listened to this in headphones, in speakers, and in the car, and there was very little rumble for as much as I enjoyed this album. There was a lot of chugga-chugga, not a lot of rumble.
There are also parts that sound like, an orchestral version of a Squaresoft SNES game. So they have that going on.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
bring me some flute up in this.
Yes. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of it that works. That can definitely be a thing, but there's a lot of it that works, I think, sound wise. But let's talk about some of the key tracks. Deej, David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, I won't do the cliche thing and mention the opening track, The Bee, because
You just did.
Because it was the single, so that's obviously a standout track. I really loved the second half of this album, starting with The Golden Elk and Wrong Direction. And I will also give the song Amongst the Stars a +5 bonus for involving a guest spot from Anneke van Giersbergen. Anything involving Anneke gets +5 bonus from me.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, I am going to start out with the B, because from the jump, the song is a straight up punch to the face. That staccato intro that then like sort of melds into not being so staccato and sort of letting it linger there was awesome. The harsh vocals play perfect to me in this one, to add a bit of that twinge of like punch and anger to it, but the chorus being this like light from the heavens sort of power metal feel to it was great. Message in Amber made me realize there needs to be like tons of choir. There needs to be at least a choir in every metal album from here until the end of time, because that was cool. Playing on that like bit throughout was really freaking cool to me. Daughter of Hate, because as I mentioned earlier, I believe in premarital sex. And then Amongst the Stars, the starts off insanely strong, has that running in the battle vibe to it all the time. And yeah, females in metal vocals, or female metal vocals, will always have a sort of soft spot to me, that like, especially when it's someone like Anika, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Anneke. Okay. Anneke. That sort of pretty female vocal on top of this like fast, crunchy like metal is just a really cool. I like playing in juxtapositions in my music, and that sort of works really well for me there.
And Drew, I'm going to introduce you to the incomparable Devin Townsend later.
Yes.
Yeah, but English is his native language. There's something magical about English as the yes. As a long-term fan of bands such as Scorpions, and I love the way vowels sound when people not from here choose to sing to an audience of us's. Evil robot us's.
Devin Townsend has mastered the long hair with balding hairline look.
No, he shaved it off. He shaved it off a while ago.
Yeah, no. No, I saw those pictures too, but he still remember
him and Corbin both.
Yes. Yes.
But yes,
Heyo.
Annika sings with him a lot.
Yes.
Annika sings with him a lot.
But yeah, I will say like one of the cool things about the Golden Elk, I really liked that kind of like acoustic guitar like break in there that was like almost Spanish like, which is really nice. And musically that was really cool. And yeah, the bee. I think on my notes I have very big the bees, not the bees. I don't know, because that's just what it made me think.
Bees.
Bees.
So it's just one bee, guys. It's just one bee.
When there's one,
Bee are
there's
there.
many. Yeah, they're shifty. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts.
I never got to say my stuff.
Oh
Petey.
yeah. Oh, sorry, Brett. What would be some of the key tracks for you?
The people need to know, like, that I couldn't help but think of that one song from the Alan Parsons projects that the Bulls walk into.
Serious.
Yeah, like some of that was going on at the beginning of the Bee. There was some digitization going on to some of this music. And again, some laryngeal singing, but it kind of, I don't think it was intended to make me giggle, but it kind of did, because it's easy to become a parody of your own style of music. Message in Amber, if you needed a metal song with a jaunty Celtic flute jam, not unlike Riverdance, and you want to have what I am going to say the spring of this album is, and that is a damn choir that is run through modulation. Like, it is like we'll probably never get that again. At the 2-minute mark of Daughter of Hate, you get the like 1980s cop like action movie reverb saxophone. Like, you just expect somebody to be on the last day of their job and get shot, and then there's like a sunset in Miami, and
Bless you.
like
Okay.
they're gonna get Mendoza. Yeah, that whole thing. The Golden Elk, I guarantee that they're somebody that spent way too much time listening to Power Slave by Iron Maiden, because it kind of follows that. And along with that song, there are a few songs, also Heart of the Giant. They use like they use scale. I'll sort of speak what I can speak, but they use like licks that are based off of scales that are mainly used in Middle Eastern music that we would recognize, which always is fun when people throw that into metal. It's not the first time we've heard people pull out those kind of licks, but it always has that weird Eastern feel to it, but metal.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I could go through every single one of these songs had something weird going on like in it. Like there was always like something. They're like, yeah, we'll just throw this in.
Yeah. It's like let's just fucking around with like random instruments that have around.
Fucking organ. Like,
We're just gonna do that.
Yeah.
And make it metal. Why not?
Why not?
I mean,
But yeah, why not? That's the perfect motto. Especially when it comes to metal. Why not? Let's bring it back around the horn. Let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I am really happy I heard this. Again, apparently they've been around for a while, and I just didn't know. Something that I'm probably going to go back and dip my toes into other stuff that they have done. Because everything that I've heard here, I really, really enjoy. It's something that at times like reminds me of stuff I used to listen to, but at times reminds me of stuff that I'm listening to now, which is the perfect mix for me. Something that
Go with Tales from a Thousand Lakes, Tuanella, Elegy, or any of their last 3 or 4 albums.
Hulk rules.
Yes.
Thriller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thriller. Bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was something that it's like when. That's why I love doing this show, is because like I'm now going to, when I'm in the mood for metal, be like, I'm going to look up that one band that was awesome and find out more about them.
The wrestling boot band, yes.
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 Jimmy Hart and the wrestling boot band. Jimmy Hart.
Headboard, actually.
Yes. God, we got to think
Mouth
of
of
our
the
next
South.
holiday album. Our next holiday episode album. Because we missed one. But yeah, Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, I don't hate this album. It's not something that I'd go out of my way to listen to on the regular, but I found lots of things to like in this album musically. Yeah, normally, the certain kinds of vocals are deal breakers to me, but that's my thing, and it wasn't even around that much in this album. It like even the things that there's way more technical and skilled musicianship than in most shitty pop albums that we listen to here and we think are fantastic. So I can't hate it on it because of its parts. It's just, it may not be the hottest bangers in the world, but I enjoyed my time, and I'm glad that I now know. And it's new. Like, now I know what a modern one of these sounds like.
Yes. Granted, it's from a band that's been around since like 1984, but still.
But yes, this is what those in 2018 sound like.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think musically it has like a lot of fun things and a lot of fun bobbles and bits. And it's just a solid metal album. It's definitely a really fun metal album to listen to in the car. It doesn't have that low end. It's not going to rattle like DJ Adam said. It's not going to rattle your car, or, your car windshield, your rear view. It's not JVZ's voice.
It's not the Humpty Dance going ooh.
Yeah. And don't break the bass. But yeah, it's solid and it's fun to listen to, and it brings a lot of like little cool pieces that work really well. David, last but not least, well, how would you conclude on this album?
It is amazing to me that there are still a few bands out there that have been around as long as Amorphis has, and Amorphis is one of the few that has been consistently good from beginning to now, and you could even make the case that they are as good or possibly better than they have ever been. The creativity is there, the willingness to experiment with your own stuff is there, the growls are solid, the singing is solid, the instrumentation is solid, and just overall, this might be the most I have enjoyed a complete metal album in a good long while. Just as someone who does enthusiastically appreciate the metal genre, this is something that I enjoyed a lot, and I'm going to be giving this a few more spins in 2018, and for all of the metal sites out there are probably going to be having this high in their album of the year discussions at the end of 2018.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Yeah, let's get down to the main event of the evening. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. What we've all been waiting for.
Should I growl my haiku, Petey? Should I growl my haiku?
Like there's no rules. Just right.
Just right. Yeah. Damn it.
So do as you please. Let's get down to the haikus.
Are you going to do it in Finnish, Petey?
Oh, God, no. Drew, what is your haiku?
A band that passed me, but glad I got to hear them, struck a chord with me.
Brett, what is your haiku?
I had some concerns, easier than expected. There's more good than bad. And I almost put Kimi Räikkönen as one of my lines because that's the only other thing from Finland that I know.
Yes. All right, my haiku. Epic metal tunes. Epic metal tunes with some fun touches throughout. great LARPing music.
Depends on what kind of LARPing you're doing.
Hey,
D&D. Like I had
I can
vibes
see
of
it.
D&D.
yes. Deej, what is your haiku?
Superb second half. Metal album of the year. Dynamics galore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go check out this album. Listen to some NEW new metal.
Yeah, no, don't mistake it for that other kind.
Not the NU.
Oh, really? Really don't.
Yeah.
Really don't.
No, this
Wait,
is
so we're not going to talk about
fresh metal.
we're not going to talk about a motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
Do you want to bring some Crazy Town next time, Drew? Is that what you want to do?
Oh,
Come, my lady. Come, my lady.
Celebrity
Yeah.
Rehab.
Butterfly.
All right, so you can of course listen to this on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Follow along at home. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Do the thing. On that Spotify playlist, presumably, is going to be next week's album. Actually, I think I know that it will be.
Yes.
Because I think we know what it's going to be. It's going to be provided by Brett. Brett, what do you got for us next week?
Well, next week we're going to find out whether these guys fall head over heels for the new Chromeo album. Yes, we will be listening to that.
Yes.
Head over heels.
Yes.
Is the one what has the legs.
Yes. This time it's the dude's legs.
Yes.
It's
Not
fantastic.
I was going to say their last like one of their albums,
Yes.
Fancy
Yes.
Footwork, also had legs.
Yeah.
This time it's their legs, or maybe I don't. Is it their?
I don't know. There could be some composite
Is
work
this
going on. but-
Their
I think-
THEIR or their THEY''RE?
I'm gonna say a THEIR.
they definitely are legs.
Yes. Well, we just don't know if they belong to the two gentlemen.
We'll say
That
this.
belong to the same torso.
Those are pretty skinny legs. I don't know. Well,
Hey,
They got legs and they know how to use them.
yes.
we will figure all of that out and more
we will-
on the next episode.
On the next episode of Record Breaker Z. But of course, that is then, and this is now. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Drew is at Please Call Me DJM. Brett is at HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew.
Did you just say Drew is
Yep,
that?
yep,
I mean,
yep,
Brett.
you did. No, for D.
Brett is at
but yeah.
HX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and other places. We're on wherever you can find podcasts, Pocket Casts, iTunes, Google Podcasts, do all places. Subscribe, like, share, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Whoa.